Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more Los Angeles Lakers news, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. The Lakers are still trying to sign a big center, and the only way to do so is by buying them out. Which buyout candidates could the Lakers sign? There are three viable options, but the one that best fits the Lakers' philosophy is the big man Mo Bamba. The Los Angeles Lakers came out of the All-Star break strong, but there are still big questions hanging over their heads. Despite winning 12 of their last 15 games and moving up to 5th place in the Western Conference, the team is still adjusting after the failed trade for Charlotte Hornets center Mark Williams. That move would have solidified their front court, but instead the Lakers have been forced to tinker with it, leaning heavily on small ball lineups to stay competitive. At the center of it all is Luka Doncic. Since arriving in the blockbuster trade from Dallas, Doncic has found his place alongside LeBron James. The fit hasn't been perfect, a nagging calf injury has limited his minutes, but the early results are promising. Doncic is averaging 27.0 points, 8.0 rebounds, and 7.5 assists this season, already showing glimpses of how he can reshape the Lakers' offense. The Los Angeles Lakers have been the talk of the NBA since trading for Luka Doncic over 2 weeks ago. Nearly everyone around the league agreed that LA clearly won that trade, and that was even before Anthony Davis went down with an injury in his first game as a Maverick. Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka was reportedly approached by Mavs GM Nico Harrison with the Doncic offer, a tidbit that is still mind-boggling to NBA fans and insiders alike. Pelinka had no choice but to make the deal, but he's also been working overtime since Doncic came to LA to try to fill the hole at center left by Davis's departure. It appeared that Pelinka had found his solution when he traded for young Hornets big man Mark Williams, but that deal fell through when Williams failed his physical. Because that occurred after the trade deadline had passed, Pelinka was then unable to make another splash in the trade market. This leaves the buyout market as the only way for the Lakers to fortify the paint, and to that end, they signed veteran center Alex Len last week. Len was uninspiring in his Lakers debut, scoring 4 points and grabbing 7 rebounds while getting abused on defense in a loss to the lowly Utah Jazz. His ceiling appears to be very low. It's clear that the Lakers need more help at center, but there's a big difference between who could become available and who would be a good fit. LA traded for Williams in accordance with Doncic's wishes to play with an athletic big that could be a lob threat. Though there'll be nobody out there who could be as impactful a player as Williams, and the Lakers, by virtue of being over the first apron, are ineligible to sign any buyout player that is making over the mid-level exception anyway, there are other players that fit a similar mold if you squint hard enough. Pelinka is undoubtedly on the phone at this very minute trying to secure frontcourt help, so let's look at 3 of the best candidates he could settle on. Lakers buyout, Mo Bamba. If Pelinka is looking for a high-upside guy, then Mo Bamba is the pick. The veteran has bounced around the league throughout his career, including a brief stint with the Lakers, but tools have never been his problem. This is a guy that can alter shots and rack up blocks with his 7'10" wingspan, a quality the Lakers are lacking with Davis no longer in town. He's also a dangerous lob threat, especially seeing how he'd be on the receiving end of passes from Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. Bamba played 28 games for the Clippers this year, and he was serviceable playing behind Ivica Zubac in just over 12 minutes per game. He grabbed at least 7 rebounds in 6 of his last 10 games with the Clips, and even blocked 5 shots against the Wizards in his second-to-last game. He was traded to the Jazz along with P.J. Tucker for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills earlier this month, then was waived before ever suiting up so Utah could make room for Jalen Hood-Schifino as part of the Doncic-Davis trade. Bamba is already familiar with the Lakers and has the size and athleticism to be a bigger difference-maker than Len. Pelinka should have signed him yesterday. Chris Boucher. The buyout market is always tricky to predict. Bamba is already out there waiting for a call, but for other players, we can only speculate on whether they'll become available or not. At 17-38, the Raptors are going nowhere fast, so they might look to move on from Chris Boucher. That all may come down to the health of Jakob Poeltl though, who's been sidelined for almost 2 weeks with a hip injury. If Poeltl can't come back soon, Toronto will need Boucher to soak up some of those minutes. Boucher is averaging over 10 points a game, and he's shooting the best percentage of his career from three-point range. That could be an added enticement as the Lakers look to spread the floor around Doncic and James, each of whom can be ball-dominant but have the vision and superlative passing ability to find anyone anywhere on the court. Boucher reportedly garnered some interest around the trade deadline, but general manager Masai Ujiri opted to keep him in town. Let's see if that changes now that he traded for Brandon Ingram and gave him a 3-year, $120 million extension. Kelly Olynyk. This one certainly strays from the Luka lob threat archetype, but Kelly Olynyk's crafty game and high basketball IQ have me intrigued. The Lakers are already one of the most cerebral teams in the league with Doncic, LeBron and Reeves. Adding Olynyk, an unconventional center who can shoot it from outside and pass it well from the post, could be a worthwhile experiment. Olynyk was fighting for minutes with Boucher in Toronto before being included in the Ingram deal, but there's also not necessarily a clear path to significant playing time in New Orleans due to the presence of Zion Williamson and rookie Yves Missi. The Pelicans have been enduring a year from hell in which seemingly everyone on the roster has been hurt at one point or another. Olynyk could provide some stability and insurance in the frontcourt as the Pelicans limp toward the finish line, or he could get cut and sign with a contender. Olynyk was on that 2020 Miami Heat team that lost to the Lakers in the bubble finals, and though he spent most of his pro career on the East Coast, he did play for the Jazz from 2022 to 24. His college days at Gonzaga indicate that a move out west might not be all that bad. This would be a pivot from what most people expect the Lakers to do, but Olynyk's offensive versatility could make it a shot worth taking. Lakers need to avoid signing a player. The All-Star festivities may be over, but that just means we can return to our regularly scheduled programming or, if you prefer, more Lakers news. LA has already signed Len on the buyout market, but they're probably not done yet. And here's one player they should avoid signing. PJ Tucker. Say what you want about PJ Tucker, but that man knows how to rack up frequent flyer miles. The nomadic vet, who began his NBA career in 2006, has been passed around to 4 different teams in the last 2 weeks, going from the Clippers to the Jazz to the Heat to the Raptors, the same team with which he started his career. Tucker hasn't been bought out yet, but it is going to happen. He'll latch on with a playoff contender somewhere, most likely a young team in need of veteran leadership. That's not the Lakers, one of the most experienced teams in the league. The only person older than Tucker that's still playing in the NBA is LeBron James. The Lakers are back to being a hot, happening team after trading for Doncic. Do we really need to get an AARP discount on team meals? Age wouldn't be a concern if Tucker was producing, but he's basically Udonis Haslem at this point. He hasn't played all year, and he hasn't averaged more than 3.5 points per game since 2021 to 22. Unless LeBron wants a surrogate father for Bronny for when he's on the court and unable to parent, Tucker just doesn't make sense on this team. The Los Angeles Lakers can't seem to sit still, at least not under general manager Rob Pelinka, and there's no telling when they'll finally slow down. The purple and gold are no strangers to dominating the NBA headlines. First, there was the shock of the century, otherwise known as the Luka Doncic-Anthony Davis trade. Now, having to scramble for a big man to fill the enormous shoes left by Anthony Davis, Pelinka has signed Alex Len. It's certainly not a move that would take up even 1% of the bandwidth of his previous 2 trades. Through it all, the Lakers have played excellent basketball, solidifying their position in the Western Conference playoff race by winning 12 of their last 15. Now left to scramble for a big man to fill the massive shoes left by AD, Pelinka signed Alex Len. Certainly not a move that would take up even 1% of the bandwidth of his previous 2 transactions, but still, a sign that one setback wouldn't bring about complacency. Even All-Star Weekend ended up generating headlines for LA, albeit not for the reasons fans would have hoped, as LeBron James pulled out of playing the All-Star game shortly before it was scheduled to tip off. Every move LeBron makes is picked apart, but even though his reasoning for dropping out was to rest his aching foot and ankle, His decision still rubbed everyone the wrong way since it was too late to replace him with another deserving player like Domantas Sabonis or Norm Powell.